Declan's coming up to talk about the future of property search. We're going to have the answer, finally. And I assume we're going to discover how you view the way the world is going to move in this market.
Correct, yeah. So I'll take a bit of a different approach today.
Okay.
Less on the AI space, and we'll see some other possibilities.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Declan.
Beautiful. Thanks for the intro, Simon. Guys, great to be here. It's my first time at the event. So great getting to know a lot of you over the last couple of days. But today we're going to be looking at, as Simon mentioned, the future of property search. Right, so those that I haven't had a chance to meet with, my name is Declan Lynch. Going back. I'm the general manager of Zenu, so we're an all-in-one solution for real estate agents. We're based in Melbourne. We specialise in CRM, websites, and prospecting. So that's kind of our core niche here. We've been in the industry for about 10 years now. We've got about 6,000 agents using the platform, and we've got about 30 staff members working with us. Now, I'm going to break today's talk up into 3 parts. One, we've got the consumer journey, so how consumers are currently navigating the process. 2, we've got the power of agent websites. And then 3, we've got what's in it for the portals. So what can you guys take away from this? If I just move across. So the consumer journey, if we jump in here and we start with the consumer journey, I can break it up into four parts there. The first one is the property portal. So typically you've got consumers now, whether they're a buyer or a seller, and they're looking at the property itself. With the property portal. They'll navigate or start with the portal. They'll inquire on REA domain, make that inquiry, and then they'll typically jump back to the agent's website, right? They might want to discover a little bit more information about them. So get a feel for the brand, view their testimonials, build that trust all in one. And then to, agent's website, they'll jump to there. And then really social media. So social media in Australia is taking off a lot. So the paid advertisements is massive. And then obviously we've talked about over the last couple of days, generative SEO, TikTok, Instagram ads, all the paid search is really valuable. So that smashes them. And then you've got email marketing and SMS as well. So again, very popular with the vendor paid marketing. They'll cover this. So in the end, there's quite a lot of content for a consumer to take in. They're getting bombarded with the portal, the agent's website, social media, and then email marketing and SMS as well. Now, today we're going to look at specifically just the agent website and the journey, and we'll see how we can improve this. Going back. So the agent website in the journey at the moment, it's a little bit complicated. There's a number of different platforms that they can use. It's quite costly. It's really all over the shop in Australia. So about, probably 90-95% of agents have a website within Australia. It's heavily used, but there's a lot of work that can be done. So if we contrast this experience with e-commerce, for example, we've got Shopify and Amazon. Everyone's aware of these guys. So Amazon in particular is a centralized marketplace, right? Set up to sell to millions of customers that businesses can do, but there's very limited opportunity for a seller to control what happens with their brand, right? And then we've got Shopify. So Shopify is a decentralized network. They allow businesses to build their brand and really, really empower them. And there's a lot more that they can do. They can have full control over everything that's going on there. So it's a great experience regardless of both. So if we look at the industry today, we can say that Amazon in particular, they're like the portals in today's market, right? They focus on their own business. They allow the agents to do a tiny bit, but it's very much tailored around their experience and best place practices. But that allows for a very, very consistent experience, which is great for consumers. So Shopify on the other end is where agents are at the moment. They've all got their own portals. It's a decentralized market, and they've got the opportunity to do things from there. Except with Shopify, they've got the consistent experience, right, because it's all built on one platform. But within Australian websites, it's very scattered. So real estate's at that crossroads where Australian agency websites have the potential to do great things, but based on the platforms they're currently built on, it's too scattered. And that's really the largest issue. So, the hidden power of websites. I'm going to use this use case of Australia in this example. So, in the Australian market, we've got about 13,500 offices and 75,000 agents, right? And if we take our existing customers and I look at their average views, that gives me about 9,000 views per month on average that each customer is getting. And you know, that's on an average. I've got some rural customers, you wouldn't think it, but some of those guys get 50,000 views a month. So with paid advertisement, they can really do well. Now, if we want to put these numbers into perspective, right, what does this mean? I'll get to that, but we'll look at the agents, why they love their website, right? So there's a few things why they love it in their business. It can do a lot of things for them. So it builds their brand and identity separate to the portals. It helps generate quality leads that they can go and offer up. Helps them win new listings, nurture staff, create new staff, and it's the digital storefront for them. So it's operating 24/7, which is absolutely brilliant, right? Now, putting those numbers into perspective, what I was talking about before, is if we contrast the two biggest portals in Australia, we've got realestate.com and Domain. So realestate.com, they're generating around 130.7 million monthly visits, right, across all their platforms. And then if we compare that to Domain, the second largest in the platform, they've got about 32.5 million monthly visits. So there's quite a large gap there between number 1 and 2. But here's the interesting insight, right? If we compare every single agency website in Australia, so 13,500 offices, and we multiply them by the average that our customers are getting of 9,000 views, that will generate around 121.5 million monthly views, right? So very quickly, within the Australian market, this becomes not a competitor for realestate.com, but this becomes the second most searched property portal that's decentralized, right, across the network. So it's got some more awesome opportunity. And then if we look at this on a yearly level, we're looking at 1.4 billion yearly views against agent websites, right? So it becomes a real dominator. Now, this is only looking at agency websites. You've still got the potential for developers, brokers, and individual agents as well, right, that really want to plug their brand. So if we look at where agents are today in the market, there's a few good things to consider. If they want to build a website, most of them have to use something that's templated. So it's something that they'll probably change every 4 years or so. They'll make about 4 or 5 major updates every year as well. And then there's an average cost of $3,000 to $5,000. Right, so it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's not great, but that's where they're at today. So this is why it affects the Shopify method of where I think this should be at. Now, if we look at the existing problems in the industry, there's probably 3 key things. We've got limited flexibility. So again, because they're all templated websites, there's not many options that they can choose from, no customizations, no ability to really bring their brand or uniqueness through. 2, they're extremely expensive. So even for a templated site, you're looking, again, at a couple of grand. It's not worth the time. And then, number 3, you've got unnecessary delays. So a templated site still takes about 6 to 8 weeks to put together. So scalability is out the window, right? And just making minor changes can still build up. We used to do it manual as well. And we used to get a backlog of 2 to 3 weeks to change a button, just because all our customers wanted to change buttons, right? Or change colors. So it's not something that was ongoing, couldn't be done. So we look at how could we solve this. So what we've done, we've put together a website builder that is super flexible, allows for a lot of customization. And again, if we look at our 3 key things, 1, unlimited flexibility. Agents can go through and change every aspect of their website, their colors, their brand, their fonts, you name it. It's full control over the website. 2, we've got cost effective. So again, because they're not having to pay for a new site or build a new site every 4 years or so, they can just constantly refresh it. They might have a new site every 6 months, but it's not costing them anything. They can just do it all in-house. Right, and then 3, you've got rapid launch. So with the rapid launch, we can go live in days, sometimes hours, not weeks or months anymore. Right, now I'm going to show a short video on how the web builder works, how this would scale. So essentially our users go through and choose a theme. We've got a number of themes set up, all ready to go with content, images, you name it, ready to go. And I'll just see if this works. Hopefully this plays. I'll just talk through as we're doing this. So as you're navigating the website builder, this is a front-end view, right? So this is a customer's website. They've got some content. They've got some nice listings, everything that they need on their brand. And if I jump into the back end here, this is a live preview. So we've got a drafting system, and everything there that you're seeing is widget-based. So it's all a slice. So we've got a fresh approach to real estate, all the content. I can actually go through and edit that on the pencil. I can duplicate the widget or remove it completely, right? So if I go and edit this, we've got on the right-hand side that you guys are seeing, that's all the content. Now, all the user has to do is a simple agent, right? They can go in, change that, click update, and this will go and reflect live. So super easy again to keep up to date. Now I'll just scroll down as well. So we've got live properties, right? So they might have 2 properties, and again, this is something that used to cost us a couple $100 and a couple of weeks worth of wait. They can go and change that from 2 properties to 3 properties, click update, that as refreshed, and then they've got a new website, a new homepage, just on the spot. Now, I'll just cut it there because of time. There's a lot of other integration options for you guys to consider as well if you're not already doing so. So it's the third-party tools. Now, we've got 2 really good ones which I'll speak about today. We've recently just done an integration with realestate.com on their ratings and reviews or their testimonials. So there's no costs on the customer's end to set up. They put in their REA unique ID, this displays, and it's a live feed of all the testimonials. Now, what's brilliant for realestate.com is, again, they get across their branding on every single agent website. This all feeds back in as an SEO boost, all the juice, and it's just a really good branding exercise. Now, a similar one we've done for CoreLogic. If you guys aren't familiar, CoreLogic's a data powerhouse within Australia and the US, and theirs is a property valuation tool. So if you guys have the data for property valuations, you build it as a widget. It's a one-off cost. Again, customers put their ID in, and this can generate a lot of great money. You're essentially just giving the homeowner or the consumer the price of their property and generating those leads for agents. Now, the big question always comes back to this: how do we currently structure this in Australia? So, pretty simple pricing. We keep it at $2,200 for a setup, and then $330 per month ongoing. Now, this would reflect in different markets, but there's a few opportunities there. So, we really want to create simple websites that are easy, transparent pricing, and scalable. So, the big question: what's in it for the portals? If we look at it like this and we look at the numbers, you've essentially got 13,500 mini portals, right? So rather than working towards one system, one ecosystem that you guys are relying on, you could essentially leverage all of these other websites to capture quite a bit of data. Now, if I just go into the actual advantages, there's quite a few. So you guys can become closer to the agent. There's a really big one, the SEO. So rather than just indexing one website, you'll have all 13,000 indexing back to your website. The other big one is first-party data. So you guys will be able to capture everything from appraisals, inquiries, and what's really popular in Australia is off-market listings. So they're the properties that haven't gone to the portal yet. Maybe it's too expensive and they want to try and sell it offline. And that's data that you guys will be missing out on. So again, if you guys can capture that and do it all from here, then that's a brilliant way of looking at it. And then that's it. That's it, guys. Yeah.
Declan, thanks very much. Okay, I've got some questions if we could bring them up.
Yep.
That'd be excellent. Okay, so does AI mean the end of search platforms and a new world of individual sale-by-owner listings can be found by AI agents?
Good question. I don't think so. If we look at this in probably 2 parts, you've got, especially with the consumer sites or the agent websites, you've got paid search. I still think paid search is king. So regardless of the SEO that we're talking about over the last couple of days, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, you've got a whole bunch of users on TikTok. I think that's still super relevant. Another part, if you look at it from a consumer side, if you're selling your house and it's your most expensive asset, you typically want to take that care and still go to the website, still go to the portal, do your research before you make a decision. I don't think you'd necessarily rely just on AI.
Okay. Perhaps okay. Yeah, we'll debate this later. Okay. There are a lot of systems like Elementor, Webflow, ready-made WordPress templates. What is your advantage over them? Yeah, what's your USP? Why you and not one? And I guess the related question is this sort of capacity to sort of template-driven approach and easy to customize has been around a while. So So what makes what you're doing unique and interesting?
Great question. So we're the first in Australia to tackle this. So all of our competitors essentially use just WordPress, just manual hard-coded websites is what we'll be doing as well. But again, it becomes very timely, very cost-effective, costly, so you can't really scale it. And I know there's these other website platforms as well. I've used a heap of them in the past, but none of them scale to the complexities of real estate. And that's what took us so long to build. So if you want to look at appraisals, inquiries, it might be for sale or for lease. You're dealing with all of those things, and then they don't just finish at the website. They then navigate into the CRM. So that might go and kick on additional workflows and things like that. So it becomes a lot more complicated when you throw a property into the mix of a website builder.
When do you think are you going to get to the point where instead of going in and sort of manually doing this, and you said
Yep.
click the pencil icon and you can type things in and so
Yep.
on, that I can just go to it like an AI front end,
Yep.
and I can just say, look, this is some characteristics about my business. This is sort of what I stand for. It's like a conversation. It says, I'm going to go away and create a website for you. And it sort of goes off and does all that work. And then it comes back to you and says, right, are you happy with this? And it just becomes more of a conversational development rather than you have to go in and actually do the work.
Yeah, good question. So there's a few of those products out there already that exist that you can, build these landing pages and spin them up, and some of them aren't bad for what they do. But I think when you're really putting together a proper solid brand for a customer, and as an agency, that's everything. It's their online digital storefront. There'll be aspects of that help, like we use AI to help write blogs, for example, right, or listing descriptions. So we ease it in that sense. But when you come to these complex integrations as well, like the realestate.com testimonials or the CoreLogic widget, you can't just rely on the putting together of that. So there's definitely elements that we will use to help speed that up or help generate maybe a landing page. But I think you're still going to need the core aspect of tailoring it.
Okay. Is it faster given the listings are coming out of your own CRM?
In what way? As in to load them onto the website?
I assume.
It's instant. So if it's with our CRM or they can use any other CRM in the industry, we've got live API feeds with all of them. So it's essentially live. They put it on market. It's on there. Same as if we push to the portals.
Okay. Normally users recognize that agents' websites are for checking their track record or testimonials. Do you think the number of listings are still important and should be updated frequently?
Definitely. So that goes back into a few of the conversations we've seen around SEO, that it's really important to keep your site optimized. Now, that's not a problem on our one because they're feeding in from the CRM. That's all done for you. You don't have to go and think about, keeping them up to date. And this has been the typical use case, right, is that the vendor wants to come and track the testimonials and the record of an agent. But where I've seen it moving to as well is the increase of off-market listings. And that's driving the sales side as well. So that's driving buyers to the site, and they'll use or leverage the CRM, their database, to SMS, email, and drive buyers to find exclusive listings on their property before the portal.
Okay. Some of the advantages for portals sounds like things that agents don't like. Correct?
What particularly?
I don't know. I didn't write the question.
Edmund, have you got anything further on that one?
He said linking back to the portal. Why would you want to do that if the agents don't like it? They want to keep they've got the user. The users come to them. If they link back to a portal, then they're doing some work for the portal.
Yeah, so probably a really big one or a good one to consider is that with this value add, if you were to do it at scale and really capture all of those leads, inquiries, etc., you could potentially give it out for free, the platform, or you might include it as part of your value offering. So there's a lot of incentive there for an agent, especially we've seen the rise of single agents or one-man shows start to pop up. It's becoming more and more popular, and they don't all have the budget as these bigger guys. So it's something that I think they would, on that trade, happily take a beautiful looking custom website to compete with their competitors, but they're not paying the same price tag. Okay. So some custom sites are 60 to 100,000.
Okay. Last question is: do you put the traffic and engagement metrics back in the CRM for vendor reports?
Yep. So we track all the listings. We do plug into Google Analytics as well if they want that deeper dive of everything. But on the simple level, we track all the listings, the views, and they can see everything there.
Okay, I got one last question. It's about your glasses.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us about them?
Someone mentioned it. Did
No,
they?
just asking about them.
All right, so it's a property or tech conference, right? So I thought I'd try and push the boundaries today. So I bought a pair of AI glasses, and they've got my speech on there. But you probably noticed at the start that they definitely fucked up. So that threw me. But yeah, do you want to try one?
Not right this second, no.
All right. Yeah.
So explain what happens. So you actually can see on
So
the
they've got
glass.
two mini projectors on the front here, and it projects a screen or teleprompter in front of you. But it also does like live translate, so it can translate different languages. You know, it's got AI plugged in for questions, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you are a walking AI-driven robot.
I am. Yep.
Right. Very cool. Anyway, I suggest you check out these glasses, and I'm going to come and find you later on.
I'll give you a
to
tour.
Have a try 'em. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you,
Declan.
guys.